Indonesia, somewhere, even, we are selling wheat from Czech to UK, these kind of things. But in the meantime, we can do processing. We can turn corn into starch, or into ethanol, or into syrup, other things. Then the ambition will be we can do consumer goods. We use all this, let's say, soybean meal or corn things, feeds, to feed the hog, then deliver it as a sausage. This is what we're doing today. So we are still in the middle of that. But in 5 years, I think in size-wise, you can see a relatively global size company cover this in these areas. Of course, we have to rely on the growth of the consumption grow in China. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Let's check here. Yeah. Lady there. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Karen. I'm from the Journalism and Media Studies Center. So my question is about Hong Kong. So for Mr. Ning, sorry. What is, in the whole globalization of COFCO, how do you see the role of Hong Kong? And have you ever think of developing it as a market? And for other panelists, how do you see the e-commerce development in Hong Kong? Thank you.
I think your first question, your first people to ask is the right people. It's Mr. Chow, right? Mr. Laura Chow. It's about Hong Kong, right? Ask me or ask Laura?
Yeah. I didn't quite get your full question. Let me try to repeat and see if it's right. Are you saying what is Hong Kong's role in globalization these days, or what was?
Sorry, actually, my first question is for Mr. Ning, and for the whole globalization strategy of COFCO, how do you see the role of Hong Kong? Have you? Okay. Yeah. Where did you do you put it? Yeah. Thank you.
I think ask one question. Too complicated.
I try. Hong Kong is gateway. Hong Kong is the center. Hong Kong, we're managing everything from Hong Kong. We do all the financing in Hong Kong. We have the COFCO International headquarters in Hong Kong. We have all the Hong Kong employees help us. So, Hong Kong, as long as Hong Kong maintain financial center position and the legal structure and the quality of talents, so Hong Kong will be playing a much, much more important role in any other city in China because of its, its historical positioning and its today's globalized way of doing business. So I think Hong Kong will play a major. I would assume, I don't have numbers. I would assume I think large percentage of the Chinese companies going abroad, they will do one way or another from Hong Kong. Yeah.
Any supplementary remarks from you or? Yeah.
No, I think that we're helping COFCO. HSBC is helping COFCO. He's our big client, so I absolutely agree with him.
Okay, one more question here. Yes. Right. Okay, the lady there, pink dress, stand up. Pink dress, please stand up so she can see you.
One question only. One. Oh, okay. Because I prepared two questions. One only?
You asked two already.
Sorry? Huh?
Please ask it. Please ask your question.
One only?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. One of the important elements that makes Mr. Ning, Mr. Chua, and Mr. Wong makes both of three being successful leaders in Chinese stated enterprise, HSBC, and in Hong Kong government. Important elements that make you being successful leaders. Clear?
Sorry, could you repeat the last sentence. I don't think we get what you want. What's your question?
No, I want to ask, what are the important elements that make Mr. Name? I mean, maybe personalities or abilities, something like that.
What
that
makes you a great
Mr.
leader, sir?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, free. Yeah.
The
Free of
first thing
the-
making me a good leader is to tell the leader first. Okay?
Well, I have to say, among the four of us here, I'm the least qualified because I don't run a company, unlike Mr. Ning and Peter. But in terms of as a public service, as someone who performs public service, I think the most important element is you have to believe in what you do, and you wish to be able to inspire others because no one can do it alone. So a good leader must have good followers, and therefore you must have a good team. I think that's the same in the government as in the commercial world.
Peter,
I just have some philosophies that I always follow. The first one is I always want the best people to work for me. Because I think that this is very important because no one individual can run a big company. You need individuals with different talents, and also you need to allow them to grow. So people is the greatest asset, and therefore I think what I always have the philosophy, I want the best people to work for me. Secondly, I think the most important thing is that I've gone through 3 organizations, from Citibank to Standard Chartered Bank to HSBC. In order to make sure that you can go from organization to organization, you always have to have a philosophy that you always make sure that you have the company's interest at heart when you make your decisions. Because if you have personal agenda, trying to boost your own personal esteem and so forth, it doesn't work because it will all reflect in your decisions making. So, and then the people will not want to work for you. So I think it's very important that you always need to have the company's interests at heart, and therefore, and also if you have the good people to work for you, I think that that will help quite a bit.
do you want to say something? Okay. Yeah. I'll move to one more question here. On this side. Yeah, gentleman there.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. My name is Mushir. I'm from the MBA class, just finished. I come from India, and I have a question with regards to probably the 2.5 billion people who need a lot of food and a lot of water in the next 25, 30 years. And what I wanted to know is, politically, things are warming up with President Xi coming to India, Prime Minister Modi coming to China. But on the ground, in terms of business, how do you see things growing for what will be the number 2 and number 3 economies in 10 years' time? What do you think are the most important things? Are you seeing things moving in the right direction, or what do you think is needed for the growth for the combined economies in the future? Thank you.
I don't know, but I had to say something, right? But yeah, you put it together, 2.5 billion people. Yeah, it's a good, a lot of people. I have to say, let's say, in my mind, I think India, because India speaks English more, and India is more close to the technology type of service, type of business, I feel, okay. So China is following that. And again, the consumers market in India and in China are all very kind of in a very, let's say, growing type of stage. I see more people's, let's say, on trade, on distribution of consumer goods, and also on sharing information things between India and China. I think it's you put the 2-something billion people together. If India people, company, and a Chinese company, not too many now, but there are some already, let's say, work together to really form a brand or business, cover the 2 nations. You cover half of the population already, almost. I think this is something very tremendous. But today, I think only start. Our dairy company went to India. They want to find an investment opportunity in India. They came back and said it's very difficult because the way of drinking milk and the way of feeding the cow is different. But I think there are some things. Let's say, if you can have a dairy company cover 2.5 billion people, you conquer the whole world. I think, yeah, there are some things, but it's not an answer. What I say is still a question, but I think it's something really, really kind of exciting if you get a vision to look at this. Thank you. Yeah.
We have one last question, and we will have to end. Yes, I will ask the gentleman in the yellow T-shirt. We'll get you a mic. We cannot hear you.
Hi, my name is Andy Chen. I'm actually a resident in Wan Chai, and thank you, Hong Kong U, for opening this forum up for the public. My question is, as Mrs. Cha mentioned, that you raised a very valid point that in the previous 5-year plan, there were a lot of mentions in terms of overcapacity. There were a lot of mention in terms of the needs for market-driven economy, etc. So, and yet, what is different this time that you think it will work this time? Maybe Mr. Ning, you can shed some light in that respect. What is different this time that it will work versus the previous 5-year plan where it didn't quite work, or it was slow in progress, so to speak? Especially this time round, you probably has less incentive given that you just had a pay cut. So, I mean, so there's unintended consequence in terms of the SOE management where they will probably a little bit more risk averse in actually making the changes and from an incentive perspective, and also from the fact that you've that's been raised before, and yet it's been slow in coming. So what's different this time? Thank you.
You want to avoid another pay cut, right?
I'm also very interested to see what is the difference this time. Let me just very quickly say that, well, first of all, I have not read the draft 13 5-year plan, so I can't really directly answer your question. But I believe they will be different this time, and I do not agree that there has not been any progress. I think there has been progress, but probably not as fast as the original intention. If you look back 5 years ago, there has been improvement in terms of the use of commodity. There has been some closure of mines and factories. It's just not enough, because as the government closed some, others got built again. And I think that is something to bear in mind. And don't forget, when the 13 5-year plan comes out, there will be a conclusion of a conclusionary remarks or progress report on the 12 5-year plan. So there will be a summary.
Yes. In the last months, I was in China. I was from the very north part of China. I was in Harbin. I was in Dalian. I was in Nanjing yesterday. And I was in Ningbo. And I was in Shenzhen in the last few weeks. So talking about what's the difference, I mean, the new normal things. You see the difference in different cities. I met all the mayors and the governors and the business people there. You find in the north part of China, they do have this pressure of transforming a very traditional kind of steel, machinery, heavy industry things, equipment things. They have to transform that. I think it will take a long time. It's not going to be easy. For Dalian, all these shipbuilding, port things slow down too. But that's not that's not that difficult. But still, you see the slowdown. You see less foreign investment in there. But if you go further to the south part of China, in Nanjing, I was with the mayor in Nanjing yesterday. His economy still grew 8.7% in the last few months, in the last month or a few months of this year. For mainly telecom equipment and biochemical medicine things and domestic consumption. So I was there for they call 糖酒会, sugar and liquor exhibition yesterday in Nanjing. You got 300,000 people there. For the first day, they got a 20 billion RMB transaction. The consumption is still there, still grow. If you go further to the further south to Ningbo, I was in Ningbo, because Ningbo, the port, Ningbo 港和舟山港, Zhoushan Port and Ningbo Port, they combine, they merge together. They become the largest container and port in the whole world. To go to Hong Kong? I don't know. Yeah. Already? I'm sorry. I used to be on the board of HIT in Hong Kong many years ago. I always think Hong Kong is number one. But this time they overtake Hong Kong for this port things. But if you go to Guangzhou and Shenzhen, you see all the let's say Tencent and Baidu, Huawei things booming economy there. I think this economy will gradually move to other part of the country. So that's very much the new normal. The new normal is something, and you transform your business into a more sort of relatively innovative, technology oriented, not a heavy industry oriented, because they are already finished. Yeah, they build all things already. But I think we still have confidence today. I mean, you can see the more you reform, like Shenzhen, the more innovative it become. So I think this round of growth will be focusing on the more reformed and commercialized cities. I forecast. Yeah? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think we have come to the end of the. Okay.
Thank you, Professor Wang, Mr. Neng, Mrs. Cha, and Mr. Wang for your lively discussion on the Chinese state-owned enterprise and the Chinese economy. Please remain seated on stage. To conclude the lecture tonight, may I now invite Professor Edward Chen to come on stage to say a few words. Professor Chen, please.
I have to say a few words to earn this lecture series every year. As always, I learn a lot from the speakers every year. This year, I learned a lot. And it's not too difficult to give my summary because the messages were so clear. Everything is about the new normal. New normal is characterized or resulted from the slowing down of the economy because of domestic and international factors, because of the significant economic restructuring undergoing in China, and because of the dealing with the legacy of the previous period expansionary fiscal and monetary policy. So growth rate will be 6 to 7% only. By China standard, 6 to 7% is relatively low because China has to make room for adjustment and make room to create employment, 10 million jobs a year. So this is a difficult time for SOEs. I got 3 very clear messages from Mr. Ling to deal with this very difficult situation. The first message, the first strategy is to go private. Go private has 3 elements, if I, have my recollection clearly. One is the management organization. It has to be lean. I learned it so clearly. Small headquarters, but big business. So the organization has to be lean. And secondly, you have to introduce private capital as much as possible into your company. And third is incentive. Labor productivity has to be enhanced. And you need a carrot, which is a GPS. That is the growth profit sharing. And you also need a stick. It is ROE. That's a replacement on evaluation every year. So the first message is go public, go private. The second message is to go global. Again, it has 2 elements, if I got it. The first element is to form strategic partnership with the worldwide investment companies and also operational companies. And the second element of Go Global is to set up subsidiaries internationally. I love wine, and you know that COFCO produced very good wine, the Great Wall. And I'm so pleased to know that Great Wall now is investing in Chile. You have Chateau in Chile, you have Chateau in France. So that is invest internationally and forming strategic partnerships. So the second message is go global. The third message is go virtual. So it's internet, and internet plus. So that is the way, to go in this world. You have to capitalize on economies of scale, and I'm very pleased to see that your B2C, B2B, and O2O business, with a special reference to your 两打网, is the most successful, actually, undertaking. So with this short note, Frank, thank you very much. Laura, Peter, thank you very much.
Professor, I wish I could speak